George Miller is an Australian filmmaker born in 1945, not to be confused with George T. Miller, also an Australian filmmaker born in 1943. George T. V. Miller is among others responsible for Snowy River, Les Patterson Saves the World, Never-Ending Story 2 or Zeus and Roxanne. George Mad Max Miller started in 1978 as assistant director for the drama In Search of Anna. In 1980 he also directed some car action scenes in the science fiction The Chain Reaction. For the Mad Max movies, see the same named retrospective. In 1983 he directed Nightmare at 20,000 Feet, a remake of the episode Nightmare at 10,000 Feet of the 60s US series Twilight Zone, as the fourth segment in the same named movie. In the old and new version, a passenger is the only one who notices an eerie creature during a flight, which tries to damage the wing, but nobody wants to believe him. Both versions are excellently cast, brilliantly staged, and have rightly absolute cult status. In the same year he made a 45-minute episode for the 6-part miniseries The Dismissal, in which the 1975 Australian constitutional crisis is the subject. In 1984, The Bastion is a TV movie about the role of Australia in World War II. Unfortunately, the information about the runtime is contradictory. One source says 3 hours, another 6 hours. And the movie was not for me available for a review. In 1985, Miller directed the music video for We Don't Need Another Hero, the credit song for his Mad Max 3 turd, sung by the total miscast female lead Tina Turner. In 1987, the witches of Eastwick cast a spell over their audience. 3 attractive small-town housewives, each without a man, which unintentionally wish for the devil in form of Jack Nicholson, to discover that they have magic powers, if they all 3 have the same thought at the same time. Shot from afar, making all the wrong moves. Here we are, dancing under a bad moon. I can't escape you. Can't escape you. The Witches of Eastwick is just awesome, with a fantastic score by John Williams, a great cast, and is spectacularly staged. Back then it got several top spots in my personal best of lists. Jack Nicholson in his best role, best witch movie of all times, and best final in a fantastic movie. You are a dark alley, I'm afraid to enter you. The estimated $22 million horror comedy made over $60 million in the US back. But according to my memory, back then it fell short of expectations and was constantly described in the media as a commercial failure. Today's sources make no concrete statement on this subject. The movie, which I clearly prefer to the book, is based on the same named 1984 novel by Robert Updike, set during America's Vietnam War of aggression in the early 70s, with partially somewhat different names and looks. They are not exclusively hot supermodels as in the adaptations. In the book, the 3 witches, constantly in search of the perfect husband, are aware of their magical powers from the get-go and also use them ruthlessly, and therefore come off, from my point of view, extremely unsympathetic and selfish. It has a much darker tone. To become a witch you have to be a widow or divorced, and Daryl is more like the devil. In the movie you see the murder of Felicia by her husband, who commits in the book afterwards suicide as a result of Daryl's influence. And after that their conscience kicks in and they try to get rid of him. In the book, Daryl has nothing to do with it. When he unexpectedly marries Felicia's orphaned daughter there, the three witches also kill her with magic, out of jealousy. However, this murder shatters their relationship. None of the three becomes pregnant as in the movie, and in the end Daryl leaves the city with the victim's little brother. The witches conjure perfect husbands for themselves and move away from Eastwick. 2008 there was also a sequel with The Widows of Eastwick by the same author. There the witches meet again after 30 years. There were several failed attempts at a TV series. In 1992 there was a same-name 22-minute pilot a bit closer to the book. The three witches are here aware of their powers. Also a 1-hour one in 2002, of course nowhere to be found, which is simply called Eastwick and supposedly continues the feature film 15 years later. And a pilot in 2009, also Eastwick, which was followed by a series, but only with 13 45 minutes episodes, of which the last two were not even aired. Here, similar to the movie, the witches don't know anything about their abilities at the beginning. The passable cast, for my taste a bit too silly fantasy drama, tells a completely independent story pulled out of their ass. I mean of course, witch hat. In the first rather boring half of the season, the witches slowly discover their abilities. In the somewhat better second, it is about two former witches who, at the time still a trio, wished for Daryl in the 80s. A reference to the motion picture, I guess. It's also implied that they've tried to kill him before, and now they want to take again revenge for the death of their friend by using her grown-up son. The last episode ends on a cliffhanger. In 1989, Miller was the second unit director for Dead Calm, an extremely exciting adaptation of Charles Williams' same-named 1963 novel. Orson Welles also tried one in 1966, but after 3 years and the death of an actor, had to give up his unfinished project called The Deep. The story is about a married couple on a lonely boat which have to deal with a lone survivor of a shipping tragedy who seems to hide a dark and deadly secret. Australian director Philip Noyce was already 1 year before responsible for the excellent but unfortunately commercially unsuccessful Satoshi remake Blind Fury with Rutger Hauer, and other interesting movies like in 1999 The Bone Collector or 2010 Salt. But he also directed the Tom Clancy propaganda schlock Patriot Games in 1992 and 1994 Clear and Present Danger. Also in 1997 the total disaster The Saint. In 1992, the excellent drama After a True Story Lorenzo's Oil sadly was ignored by the audience and bombed at the box office, but got mostly positive reviews and nominated for several awards. It tells the story of Lorenzo Odone, who is diagnosed as a child with a rare and incurable genetic disease adrenoleukodystrophy, short ALD, with a life expectancy of about 2 years. ALD causes rapid neurological decay, dementia and the loss of vital body functions. Since the Odones are not satisfied with the death sentence of traditional medicine, they search and find an alternative treatment, nowadays named after Lorenzo and, what a twist, not accepted by some health insurance companies. For example, here in Germany, which means in real life sick people are forced to organize and pay for the urgently needed medicine themselves, since otherwise large pharmaceutical companies don't get rid of their useless overpriced garbage. Similar inhuman behavior could also be seen in cases where cannabis should be used as medicine, or in the first treatments of the totally made-up so-called HI virus in the 80s, impressively described in Dallas Buyers Club from 2013.
Got me on hold, my whole life that is, cause a cold. You got me on ice that way, I cannot move, I can't escape you, I can't escape you.
Lorenzo's Oil is very well cast, acted and staged, a real secret tip. And from my point of view, he also shows the consequences of a failed corrupt policy by the government. that dumps the health of the people in an irresponsible manner to greedy private companies, for whom patients are not human beings, only customers or goods. Sick more valuable than healthy, which is why healing people is bad for business. See also the actual corona fraud, with as vaccinations wrongly declared poison injections by confessing world population reducers / mass murderers like Kill Bill and pals, and their state-funded terror organizations like WHO and Co. For more information on Fascism 2.0 and the New World Order since March 2020, just look out of the window or the COVID 1984 videos. Based on currently still relatively uncensored platforms like my Telegram, BitChute or Odysee channels, which are also called the Lone Wolf Cub, or in the original German version, Der Japango. In 1997, Miller made the interesting 1-hour documentary 40,000 Years of Dreaming, in which he talks about the last 100 years of Australian cinema by showing footage. 1998, Babe Pig in the City is a sequel to the innovative and highly entertaining 1995 surprise hit Babe, which back then was written and produced by Miller. Part 2 had a budget of $80 million and could not even pull 70 millions back worldwide, and was rightly a financial failure. In the much more crazy but unnecessarily dark sequel, Babe has to go to the big city together with the wife of his owner in order to raise money, because after a fatal accident caused by Babe, his owner got injured and is unable to work, and the farm got almost ruined. In the big city, Babe again acts stupid and ruins a secret animal shelter. Even though the movie has good intentions, breathtaking visuals and of course a happy end, it's a hard sit-through, as Babe acts here most of the time selfish and unsympathetic. In 2006, the Oscar-winning and financially successful computer-animated musical Happy Feet steps through theaters, in which a penguin can only dance instead of sing, what makes him a kind of outsider, I guess. I suppose the movie's okay, but since I can't stand computer animation or musicals in general, and the combination of both should from my point of view be provided with warning signs and skull stickers, I really can't say I enjoyed watching it. But even I recognized it was still Citizen Kane compared to Part 2. In Happy Feet 2 from 2011, the penguin from Part 1 has a wife and child, which is, I have no clue why, now the focus of the movie. A real story can't be spotted, most things happen because script says so. The $135 million disaster pulled just $150 million back worldwide and caused Miller back then to close down his production company Dr. D Studios. 2022 sees the release of 3000 Years of Longing, an even bigger flop. In the Australian so-called fantasy movie based on A.S. Beard's short story The Djinn in the Nightingale's Eye from 1994, a lonely literary scholar on a trip to Istanbul discovers a djinn who offers her 3 heartfelt wishes in exchange for his freedom. But she only knows stories about wishing, which are also a warning against that very thing. To teach her better, the djinn tells her 3 puke-boring stories, all of which ended badly, and how he got into the bottle. The embarrassing, ultra-woke, ultra-talkative, cliched CGI snorefest, in which they even ramble about the alleged climate problems, and to top it all off, some stupid monkeys with unhealthy slave masks constantly can be seen in the picture, could not even make 13 from its $60 million budget back worldwide.